This video is a continuation of a series where I recommend games that you should watch in their fullness. If you're a basketball superfan like me, then you don't just watch highlights from iconic moments, but rather you make your popcorn and you get on your comfy couch and watch full-length NBA games from years past, as if they're classic movies. In this series, I'm recommending games that are well known and that young NBA fans should watch. But I'm also suggesting games that are lesser known that have somehow slipped through the cracks of the mainstream memory. As always, I'll be providing links to these games in the pinned comment, so that all you'll have to do is click and you're immediately off to viewing. As always, let me know your suggestions in the comment section below. Now without further ado, let's get into it.
First off is the Los Angeles Lakers versus the San Diego Clippers on the opening night of the 1979-1980 regular season. This game is most famous for one particular reason. It was the rookie debut game of the greatest point guard in NBA history, Magic Johnson. But there was a lot more to this game than just that. Not only did Magic have a great offensive performance himself, but he was also going up against the star World B. Free. And he gave Magic his first welcome to the NBA moment, as World B. Free dropped nearly 50 points in this contest. And he's a guy who usually flies under the radar and often isn't known by younger NBA fans. So this would definitely be a good game to check out if you want to acquaint yourself with him. This game went down to the wire, and Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did their thing, and it had an absolutely thrilling finish. This was also the very first chapter of the Los Angeles Lakers Showtime dynasty, whose greatness basically defined the 1980s. So from a historical perspective, this regular season game is especially significant. Next is the New York Knicks versus the Detroit Pistons in the first round of the 1984 NBA playoffs. This was the fifth and deciding fifth game, and two stars were going at it in this contest, which was Bernard King for the Knicks and Isaiah Thomas for the Detroit Pistons. This was an absolute classic of a duel, and regulation alone wasn't enough to decide this one. Down the stretch, you had one of the most clutch and impressive scoring displays that we've ever seen from a superstar player. One that might even be greater than Reggie Miller's 8 points in just 9 seconds. But for some reason, this one is rarely talked about. And I don't want to spoil all the details, but I definitely recommend that you check out this contest if you want to familiarize yourself with the greatness of Isaiah Thomas and Bernard King while seeing a thrilling playoff game that I consider as one of the greatest playoff games of all time. Next is Game 7 of the 1988 NBA Finals between the Detroit Pistons and the Los Angeles Lakers. This game had everything. You had tremendous star power from guys like Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and James Worthy. And then on the Detroit side, you had Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Bill Laimbeer, and Dennis Rodman. This series was extremely competitive throughout, and this one also went down to the final minute. It's very significant from a basketball history perspective, because it's quite possibly the most controversial basketball ending of all time, especially on the final possession. With that being said, the reason I really want you guys to check this one out is because of the greatness of big game James Worthy. Before Kobe Bryant, James Worthy was my favorite player when I was a child. I loved the way he sprinted up and down the court. I loved his Statue of Liberty dunk. I loved the way he rocked the goggles. I loved everything about this guy. And he's usually the least appreciated player from the Showtime Lakers dynasty. For goodness sake, he was the Finals MVP in these 1988 NBA Finals, and it didn't look like he was going to win that Finals MVP throughout the first 6 games. But what he did in Game 7 was so impressive, so monstrous statistically, and so clutch that he securely took the award in the final hour. This is definitely a great one to check out if you want to know why they call him Big Game James. Next is the Lakers versus the Warriors in the regular season on June 12, 2000. This was an epic battle between Kobe Bryant and the great but forgotten Antawn Jamison. Just the night before, Antawn had scored 51 points, and on this night, him and Kobe Bryant would have an epic solo battle, and one of the greatest that I've ever seen with my own eyes. This was significant for Kobe because this was the first 50-point game that he's ever had, and this is where I first started to realize just what Kobe was capable of as a scorer. The game went down to the final possession, with the player of the game up for grabs between Jamison and Kobe, and as always, I won't spoil it, but I definitely recommend it. Next up, I've got Wizards vs. the Hornets on December 29th, 2001. Michael Jordan's years with the Washington Wizards are always a hot topic. Some people think he was absolutely incredible, some people think he was hot garbage. I tend to think he was incredibly impressive individually, given the context of his age, and considering the fact that he didn't make it through the entirety of his first season due to injuries. With that being said, his time in Washington was a bit of a roller coaster, and just prior to this game, Michael Jordan only scored 8 points in a single contest, and that officially ended his impressive streak of consecutive games scoring at least 10 points. Michael Jordan had a point to prove in this next one against the Hornets, and what ensued was one of the greatest scoring performances that we've ever seen from a player in his twilight years. It was absolute mid-range artistry that any young basketball player can look at, study, and benefit from. There's so much fundamentals on display, and so much beauty to behold from a pure basketball standpoint. If you want to see MJ at his very best in a blue jersey, then this is the game you should check out. Next is the Orlando Magic versus the Cleveland Cavaliers on Christmas Day 2003. This one's kind of crazy to look back on in hindsight, as this was a tremendous individual battle between a prime Tracy McGrady and a rookie LeBron James. As an 18-year-old, LeBron was going toe-to-toe with one of the most skilled and tremendous offensive players that the game has ever seen. Honestly, I bet a bunch of young LeBron fans don't even know that this game ever happened. But it was tremendously significant to me because 1, we didn't get to enjoy Tracy McGrady as long as we deserved simply because of his injuries. And on the other hand, it was a great peek into just how good LeBron James was going to become. Because the fact that he was going toe-to-toe with arguably the best player in the game at that point is something truly stunning. Definitely check this one out if you're the type of fan who really enjoys two-star players going at it. Then we have the Golden State Warriors versus the New York Knicks on February 27th, 2013. If you're a young modern basketball fan, but more specifically a Steph Curry fan, then this is a game I definitely think you should watch. Because in my opinion, this is the performance that puts Steph on the map. Up to this point, Steph had never scored at least 40 points in a single contest, and in this one, he scored well over 50. It was a jaw-dropping scoring explosion. But it's also fun to look back at that point in history and listen to the commentators and analysts as they have no idea how NBA basketball is about to change, all because of this one guy having a thrilling performance. For example, they say at one point during the broadcast that he'll never be as good of a shooter as his dad, which is incredibly comical knowing what we know now. It was this performance in Madison Square Garden where we should have known that this guy was going to be one of the greatest players to ever live. It still took some time for us all to realize it, but I'm telling you, the greatness was on display in this contest, and I definitely think you should go back and appreciate it if you've never seen it. So what do you guys think? What is an NBA game that you would recommend the rest of us watching? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.